It's another year on. You might be wondering, has anything materially changed? Well, that's what I'm here to tell you. So this is your annual update of the Apple Watch Ultra. And I think we're 2.5 years on, maybe like closer to 3 years, but we're going to call it 2.5 year update. If you hear licking in the background, it's the dog. That is also the dog. I don't know if you could hear it. I'm hoping that my snazzy new microphone setup is going to fix all my problems. And I've even put effort into lighting. Sun has gone down, so I missed the boat on that one. New year, new us, all that malarkey. First up, I mean, it's working, all right? This watch is working. It needs a clean, but it's working. It isn't necessarily a guarantee. The reason I got this model, as you know, is it's the more rugged version. It's got sapphire glass. It's got the thing that's not aluminium and scratches easily. Titanium? I think it's titanium. It's got that. So all the mod cons that I was looking for, they have worked. It's alive. It's alive. Hallelujah, it's alive. There was a point at which 3 years was kind of the max life that you would get out of a phone, because companies, especially the one that we're talking about, maybe did some little software updates, made sure that the battery wasn't working properly. That does not seem to be the case. It's every couple of days I get a reminder to charge before going to bed. I'm not using it as much as I used to. We'll get on to why that is in a second, but it is still working. It's alive after 2.5 years, so there's a big tick there. Are there any software updates to shout about? No. If there are, I haven't noticed, so they're not that amazing. Did I expect that when purchasing this watch? Not really. I held out hope because I was getting the flagship model that maybe, and you know this annoyed me last year, there was an Apple Watch Ultra 2 released the year after. I think there's going to be an Apple Watch Ultra 3 this year. I haven't looked because mine's still working, so I'm not going to upset myself with all the little twiddly bits that I don't have. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to torture myself. I'm not very good with car analogies, but I was hoping that if I was holding up for the Porsche, is it Porsche or Porsche? I don't have one, so I'm going to call it Porsche because Porsche sounds, I don't know, it sounds a bit too fancy for me, and I'm not that fancy. She says reviewing an Apple Watch Ultra. The point is, it's expensive, and I was hoping that that meant something, because currently I'm getting the main thing that I wanted out of it, which was the ruggedness, the wearability. Great. It feels like a throwaway culture, right? It's just going to be better next year. So how is it special? Why is it special? And I don't think that's really what Apple wants. They're like, oh, you've got that. Yeah, but it's version 1. I wouldn't go out and buy an Apple Watch version 1 because I would assume that the version 2 would be better. Therefore, my version 1 Apple Watch Ultra just makes me a little bit sad, because I'm like, oh, I spent quite a lot of money on this and I was quite excited by it. But now I'm just like, oh, I'm version 1 when there's 3 freaking versions out there. So I don't like that. But I haven't liked that for a year. It was a hope of mine rather than something that was necessarily going to happen. Just a bit sad. I'm going to do a very slight tangent on this to say that my phone, which I think is 3.5 years now, maybe closer to 4, that is also still working, and the battery hasn't particularly been affected on that. I have still got low power mode turned on all the time, and I went over this in my iPhone hacks video, which I'll link down below, but the point of it is that I kept putting it onto low power mode because I wanted to eke out as much battery life as possible, which did work, but I also didn't want to turn it on manually every time because it turns itself off when you hit 80% charge. You can set up a shortcut for that and it just turns it on if it's off, so that's really good. That I think is prolonging my battery life, but I'm not sure because I haven't turned it off because I want to keep my battery the way it is. So bit of a Schrodinger's battery for you there. I also have a very specific shortcut use case for you, because I said at the time that I thought shortcuts were a great idea, but I couldn't think of any use cases apart from the battery stuff. But if you have an eSIM that is for work, for example, and you want to be available, but you don't want to be available all the time because having your work stuff on your personal phone, there's a lot of issues with it, right? Boundaries, etc. And also, I think somebody told me that if you have work stuff on your personal phone, then you're basically signing over the right for work, if they need to do an audit, to look at your entire phone data, which is a big red flag to me. I'm not saying that they will, but I'm saying that we need to be more aware of our rights in that sphere, because it's so easy to just link your phone up to Teams or Slack or whatever you're using. It's just a little bit, don't be in that situation. Be aware of your rights, but obviously it's just, yeah. The biggest issue I've come across this year, and don't judge me for not coming across it last year, my strap is looking a lot worse for wear. I wanted a new one, so I was looking into buying a new one. This is, I'm going to say polystyrene. It's not polystyrene or polymer. It's polyester is what we're looking for. It's like a polyester stretchy thing, and it does have titanium clasps to match the watch, fine, and it does fit really well. But they're £50 for a new one. I looked up this exact material online. You can get the material for like a couple of quid. That infuriates me because I don't want a load of the titanium clasp sitting around. But equally, it's not as easy to switch out as you might think, because the end bit, it stops you going straight through the titanium clasp, but that's almost the bit that's looking the most worse for wear. I did a couple of things this year. Number one, when we were in South Korea, which was amazing, by the way, it was how I would imagine Japan to be if I hadn't been to Japan. What I mean by that is I was expecting to go to Japan. We went to Tokyo, Osaka, the popular places that you go. And I was expecting to be inundated with vending machines selling random stuff. But they were just really selling drinks. You could go to vending machines that had, I think it was hot meals and stuff. But they were few and far between. Same with the shops. We went to an amazing umbrella shop. I want to say it was in Shinjuku, but I don't think it was. I think it was quite far out. It's called Waterfront. Love that umbrella. That umbrella is it is a hero. I go out with that and I go, oh, this is my Japanese umbrella. It does really well in wind. Wouldn't want to test it. And this is a complete tangent, but I love that umbrella. If you are anywhere near the Waterfront shop, get an umbrella there. Speak to the people there. They're really helpful. You will not regret it. I got a really long one and I was lucky that they let me on the plane with it, because it did not fit in any of the bags that we had. So just bear that in mind as well. All of that to say, very specific shop that we had to go quite far out to. And this was like Tokyo, biggest city in the world type thing, which I didn't fully comprehend until we went there. And that was one shop for umbrellas. It wasn't a shop for wellies next to it. It wasn't all conveniently close together. And I didn't really clock that. So I just assumed that I would be going to Japan and then it would be kawaii inundated stuff, like stationery shops where you have everything. But no, it was a little bit more specialised than that. And I will say the shops there, very high quality, very impressive. And also some of them are not as expensive as you'd think. Like the umbrella was not as expensive as I would have expected / potentially paid for it. So I was happy with that. But in Korea, you go there and you are inundated with things. I don't remember there being loads of vending machines, which is fine. I'm not particularly precious about it. It's just about expectations versus reality. But there were some jewellery shops that really, really got me. I was walking down the street and there was a jewellery shop and it was like sterling silver and they actually advertised it. I got some really nice, relatively inexpensive jewellery there. So I think I got one necklace. I think I am mis-selling this to you. I got a really nice necklace from there and I was impressed by it, is the point. And there were some really fun stationery shops as well, but I'd already spent my stationery budget in Japan and I very rarely use pens anymore because I'm in the digital age. But as part of these jewellery shops that filled me with confidence, there was a myriad of knockoff Apple Watch straps. I don't mind a knockoff because it demonopolises the market. They were cute. I don't know if you've seen the Apple Watch Ultra straps, but they're very targeted at men. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I am not a man. I am a woman. And again, we're going to go on to that a very specific use case. You've clicked on this video because it says Apple Watch Ultra for women. They have very manly straps and I don't like them. I want something not like really, really naff, but I want something nice and tasteful. And this is just boring. I'm sick of it. I want to swap it out. But I also do not want to pay £50 for no good reason, okay? Because I cannot fathom what element of this, apart from the brand, which I don't massively care about when it's just the strap, should be £50. And maybe you're in a different space to me, but I'm not prepared to. That's why I got this as an open box. I can't cope with it. I'm not prepared to spend that money on a strap. On a strap that's also not going to last very long. It's just so much money. So I bought a couple of knockoff ones because they look nice and I was happy with them. And they broke because they were knockoffs. It was the titanium claspy bit that broke and it very much upset me because aside from, when you feel like you've won and then you just get knocked off your pedestal, I felt like that. Also, I could have lost my watch. It's put me off getting knockoffs if I don't know the quality of them. And I don't know the quality of a knockoff because I'm not related at all to the manufacturing process. So that just leaves me with, I've found some very similar material on Etsy. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to string it through these straps and Velcro it and it's going to be a refresh. Even if it doesn't look quite as well put together as this strap does, it's going to look fresher, which will be nice. And you know, the only person who cares about it is me. There is a possibility I will end up spending £50 for another strap if this goes terribly wrong, but it shouldn't do. It's something that is within my skill set. And again, I have not got all the manufacturing capabilities that Apple does with their, I don't know, like laser cutting, etc. But you know what? It's good enough for me. I've measured the insides of it. It's fine. It just bugs me. They probably don't care. I'm just like airing my frustrations on the internet. But that is the biggest thing that's upset me this year. Aside from the fact that I feel just generationally behind with the watch. And I don't feel like I should. So those are my two bugbears. On the plus side, it's working. It's just not wowing me. And I feel like when you buy a new Apple product, it does wow you, but then you just lose it. And that's their marketing. That's how they go, oh yeah, look, we're new and fancy and it's great. Buy the next generation because, hey, we've had another launch event. It just doesn't feel as special when everybody keeps getting model after model of phone out year after year. And it hasn't changed that much. The things that I care about, storage, battery, ruggedability and camera and anything that doesn't annoy me. So if there's like incompatibility, that sort of stuff, it hasn't changed that much. Therefore, I just don't care. Yeah, it's great to have something a little bit different, but you can change your phone case. It just feels wasteful. And I hope that the market is going, hey, wait a second, this is wasteful. But it doesn't feel like the manufacturers are, which is just a bit upsetting, really, because one person doing something versus a company doing something, there's a massive difference in impact there. Great if you've got some percentage of recyclable materials. Just be a little bit more conscientious, responsible, nice. I'm fairy tailing what I think an economy should be, but that's how I feel. So on to the main difference in this video. Nothing materially has happened, software or hardware, with my phone or my watch, but I've had a bit of a hardware update. I'm pregnant, which is really, really weird to say in general. It feels like a really adult thing to do, and I still feel like I'm a teenager, so it feels like I've done something really irresponsible. And then like people can be like, oh, teenage mother. I'm nowhere near a teenager, but mentally I still am, apart from I've had a lot more experience in life, which I'm glad about. But there's a lot of feelings to unpack here. It sounds like it wasn't planned. Like, it was planned. We're really, really happy. Baby's doing well as far as we know. It's amazing. But also, like, I'm going to go off in the detail of this in a separate video because you'll hear about the watch and the watch only. But being pregnant sucks, okay? It's not like, it's great. I'm so glad it's happened. But it is rough. Is very rough. And I'm not happy about it. And thankfully, I'm out of the first trimester. I'm not in there anymore. And it's a bit better now. But the first trimester, oh my God, that was awful. Do not let yourself think that the first trimester is all rainbows and daisies. But maybe yours will be. It is different from person to person. But do not feel bad at all if you feel so upset and crappy because the first trimester is awful. I'm not going to swear in front of baby. It's really not very nice at all. So don't worry. It should get better, which is an absolutely crappy thing to say to people when their bodies are just revolting. Your body is not revolt, as in like it is staging a revolt, an uprising for basically 2 months. Okay. I felt sick for 2 months. I lost 7 kilos. I'm going to leave it at that, because you can have all the nuance in a different video where I actually go into it, because I think it's important that I've got a little bit of a voice. I want to lend that to other people because I'm in a position where I'm quite strong in myself. I'm quite happy and stable, and I've got a really good support network. I feel like not enough people just tell you how crappy it is. So this is my PSA to you. It's great to have children. If you want to, I need to stop talking about this. But just, yeah, don't blame yourself if you feel so annoyed about it. As a woman, you have it hard enough. I mean, they don't make rugged wearables amazingly for women. Point is, I'm pregnant. Has that affected my watch usage? It's gone down. I could lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not do any exercise from when my morning sickness kicked in to relatively recently. And the only exercise I've been doing is walking. Because I lost 7 kilos and felt absolutely rotten, my energy did a complete nosedive. I wasn't pushing myself. I wasn't going out walking because I didn't have the energy. I could only walk for like 7 minutes before I had to sit down. It was awful. And I could walk for hours and hours and hours before. I was not unfit. I wasn't massively fit compared to how I can be, but I was not unfit. So for it to completely go, my watch has been judging me. It's been going like, oh, your resting heart rate's going up. Oh, your exercise minutes have gone down. Yeah, they have. I don't care. That is perfectly a valid response. Now my blood is at an extra 50% compared to the normal volume that it was. My resting heart rate's gone up. I've lost fitness. And it knows that I'm pregnant. You don't get pregnant that often, or at least thinking about software cycles, you get pregnant max once every 9 months if you've got a healthy pregnancy. I was putting things like ovulation test results in because we had to try quite hard in order to get pregnant. This is something else I'll go into in the details video, but you have to try pretty hard if you are trying and be pretty irresponsible in order to get pregnant. Maybe it's because I'm no longer a teenager, my fertility is not what it was. But I was recording these details because I wanted to know. I wanted to know my ovulation test results, etc., etc. And I put a positive pregnancy test in. Did my health app go, you're pregnant? Let me then start up a screen and go, hey, you're pregnant. Do you want me to record that you're pregnant? No, it didn't. I had to find that in the settings somewhere. But what it did do was tell me that my period was due. And I was like, it's not due though, because you know I'm pregnant, because I told you I was pregnant, because I was being pretty anal about recording every single test result, because that's how I remembered it. I knew I was pregnant. It was like, your period's late. Oh, yeah, it's late. Genius. So yeah, I had to go into Health App and go, just change my setup there. I just feel like that could have been so much more user-friendly, because first emotions when you find out that you are pregnant are not, I'd better go into my Apple Health app and check my settings. Like, it was relatively easy to do, but that's just such a missed opportunity. It's so straightforward. And I'm going back to software cycles. They release an update, once every month, and then a major update, I want to say once every quarter, but I haven't really been keeping track of it. I go, surely that's quite an easy trigger flow, to use the technical software term that I'm probably absolutely abusing. But it sounded good. That's quite an easy flow. Something that I can set up as I'm tech savvy, but I'm not a developer. I go, surely, easy. If person puts positive pregnancy test in, then trigger settings difference. And if I'd gone, nah, I don't want to do that, that would be understandable, but I didn't. So I had to Google it and go, well, what can I do? Oh yeah, change your settings. Software cycles, maybe you'd be pregnant a couple of times in 5 years. We're talking about, I don't know, the average kid's 1.6 per household. Not everybody's got an iPhone. Maybe, I don't know, 50% of the population? I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats. So half of them, and another half of those are not women. So quarter of the population of adults, or potentially teenagers with phones. A lot of teenagers are not interested in getting pregnant to the extent that I, as a fully mature woman who have done the things that I felt like I needed to before I got pregnant, it's not the same, right? So it's quite a small percentage of people who are actively trying to get pregnant at any one time. Therefore, 5-10 years down the line, maybe it would be a flow. It just is such an obvious one. You kind of go, what type of people will be using this? They obviously set up that, okay, well, let's have the pregnancy test put in, let's have the period put in. Why didn't they put the flow in? They do have things like inputting whether you've been spotting or bleeding and stuff in there once you've changed the settings to being pregnant. But if you have any spotting at all, it comes up with a big alert going, hey, wait a second, you've got a bit of spotting during pregnancy, you should go speak to a doctor. It's not inherently a bad thing, that specific case, but I had spotting and it was fine. And I had spotting around the time that my period would have been for a few months, and that is pretty darn normal. I would have preferred a little bit less alarmist, going, you may want to speak to your midwife because this may indicate the start of a problem, but also here's some information, it might be fine depending on where you are on your cycle, etc. Look out for these signs if it starts to escalate, etc., and then put the decision on you rather than go, hey, speak to your midwife straight away, it's an emergency. Because especially in that first trimester when spotting is more likely, you feel like shite. And then the thought of making an appointment and going in, and I mean, you're not even registered in the UK, you're not even registered with a midwife until you're about 12 weeks. Like, you tell them as soon as you know, maybe it's 10 weeks, but that's a lot of weeks to go through. That's maybe 2 period cycles. They don't really care. And the reason they don't care, I'm really sorry because this is going to trigger some people. So skip ahead 10 seconds. The reason they don't care is because the risk of miscarriage in that first trimester is pretty darn high. Not the end of the world high, but enough for it to mean that they don't want to waste resources on it, which is horrible. Knowing that, if you have nobody to speak to, the faff of going to a doctor's appointment and the fact that your immune system is really low because your body's going, hold on a second, it's balancing your immune system with the fact that it wants to keep the baby. It's unnecessary stress because in your head, you're going, oh my God, it's the end of the world, versus I have to have an appointment, go into a public place with loads of sick people because it's the GP. And they're probably going to be telling me, okay, well, watch out for it escalating anyway. They're probably not going to be doing a hell of a lot of checks because I've not even gone through the process yet. With that sort of thing, you do need to make the call yourself, but having something that tells you it's the end of the world straight away is not ideal. The other symptoms that they allow you to list are convenient. They are symptoms that you want to have. I would probably have a few more in there. And again, like with period symptoms, I would like to be able to edit the list myself if I've got some very specific ones I want to keep a track of, or subsections. I don't know, light bleeding, like medium bleeding, because you can still get light, medium and heavy. Just a few more options there would be nice for me, but then I quite like having options. Just the option of having an option is nice. But again, that's kind of the benefit of Apple, is you don't have to think about it too much. So that's still on my wish list. I also had a few issues with medication. I am taking prenatals. I was going to say a lot of prenatals. They're just quite big ones, and I don't like swallowing pills. So it feels like a lot every time. If you're interested, and in the UK, I'm taking Boots Bump to Baby, like a pink packet. It's got a belly and some boobs on. They give you 30-day capsules in one go. And the reason we landed on those, I'm going to have so much moaning in the pregnancy video. You're probably going to be really bored, but it's such important information. And I found it so frustrating, which means that the information on the NHS or online is not necessarily as clear as you'd want it to be. You can get some multivitamins. They have like 10,000% of your RDA. And you might think, okay, that's fine. But it's not fine because your body has to process that. And I had B12 anemia quite a while ago, and I was taking these catch-up vitamins, and they were great. But then I read a study that I cannot produce because I'm not massively interested in finding again. Look it up for yourself. It's always worth looking it up for yourself. But I read a study at the time, and it said if you take loads and loads, then you can start to damage your liver because it's having to filter it out. And it's probably like quite a lot over a long period of time. But some of these multivitamins you want to keep taking. And I wasn't eating very much. So my midwife was like, you need to take some multivitamins. Your baby's going to be okay because the baby leaches the chemicals, the vitamins and minerals that it needs from you, which means that you're going to be the one who is health-wise at risk. I assume that's how evolution works because it wants to prioritize the next generation. Like everything else in this country, I am just a cow and nobody cares about me anymore because I'm pregnant. So anyway, Boots Bump to Baby, and they are not 10,000%, so I'm not worried about my liver. But I spoke to my care team about this and they said, oh, it's fine. Just like, they can't do loads anyway. But honestly, honest to God, it's 10,000%. I mean, the multivitamins that I've got, I think are maybe 200% of my B12. That compared to 10,000% or stupid numbers. These were not prescribed to me, these B12 10,000% ones. They were ones that we got over the counter just as multivitamins. Maybe they were like, oh, extra energy, but they were like, take it every day. Yeah, it's fine. You're fine. But it just doesn't, no. Yeah, you pee it out, but you still have to process it. It just feels like sense to me on that. But do your own research. Always advocate for that because I could have misunderstood something. I could have read some crap. I could make different decisions about my body than you do, and my needs are different to yours. So be informed. But we had to, I didn't do any of the work. That was all Francis. We had to look quite hard to find these ones that weren't stupidly over the RDAs. So I'd much rather, if I'm taking something every day and I'm taking it every single freaking day, then I want it to be my RDA. I mean, there's some ins and outs to do with calcium, and I'm accepting a little bit over my RDA in some areas, but that's not the end of the world as long as I've got basically 100% of things. I don't mind too much beyond that. They are not vegetarian though, which, considering how difficult it was to get them in the first place. I'm pescatarian because I'm fussy, not because I'm allergic to anything, so I'm counting that as a blessing and taking the hit on that one. You might not think about pills being vegetarian, but the coating on them fits, like, I think it's what it is. It's either that or I don't know what it is. It's anything, but it makes sense. I think the capsules are less likely to be vegetarian as well. Though we had some ones no, I'm thinking about probiotics. I think they were vegetarian. But I will say, even though they're absolutely massive tablets, because they're a little bit gummy on the outside, like the tiniest bit, as in they've got a slight plasticky almost coating, they do go down. It's just pretty off-putting because they're like, I don't know, finger to finger, pretty big. They're not small. It's the multivitamin and omega-3, which by design is not vegetarian because it comes from fish. But it's supposed to be quite good for the baby. So I go, okay, fine. And me, like, I'm also important. Back onto the actual issue with the medication. I'm having these multivitamins. I have it every single night. Right? I do it before I brush my teeth, but also you have to have them quite close to when you eat. Otherwise, you're going to feel really sick. So it's a bit of a balance, but I have them every single night. But I don't always remember to log it on my watch. I do maybe 99% of the time, but there have been, I won't say 3 or 4, but it must be a handful of occasions where I just haven't logged it that night because I've been distracted doing something else. I saw the notification on my watch the next morning. Hey, do you want to log your medication from yesterday? So it's yesterday's notification. And I'm like, yeah, log as taken. I did take that. Fantastic. And then it logged it as the next day, which is understandable because I logged it as taken the next day. But for some weird reason, it then didn't have that medication as an option on the previous day. So I think it's some sort of glitch. I think I could maybe go into it if I went into that specific medication but it was hard. It disappeared. You don't want to accidentally delete stuff, but you also don't want it to go to the next day if you're looking at previous day's notifications. So I can see why it happened. It's just annoying. So when that happened again, I made sure to not do anything from the notification. I had to do it from the app. That's all. It's just like, can I edit the time that I took it? You can delete it. But then if it's not there on the previous, how? Why? It's too hidden behind the background for the fact that I needed to amend it. Just annoying. It needs to be intuitive and support you during the ditzy moments, which when you are pregnant, I've not had too many ditzy moments. I've had very tired moments, but thus far, touch wood, monkey skin. That's a French. I don't know what the French is, but they go monkey skin, but in French. And that's how they say touch wood. So I've got a wooden table. Basically, my brain's been okay thus far, but that is not a guarantee because I'm going through puberty Mark 2. Effectively, that's the level of hormones that I'm experiencing. Definitely not a guarantee that you're going to be compos mentis. I am crying. So I'm crying every single day. I haven't cried today. I might cry today. Just let a bit of that emotion out. That's fine. So that's happening. Some people get baby brain. And I don't know how much of that is before. I don't think my long-term memory has been assisted by this whole shebang. And my vocabulary, I keep searching for words that are more difficult to find. So I think I am being affected by it. I don't think my base logic is, and my base beliefs, which is good, but also I guess not unexpected, but was a slight worry because, I don't know, one of the worries I had about being pregnant was losing my sense of self. So I feel like I'm still me, which is good. But see, train of thought gone. That would have happened anyway. Point is, something when you're pregnant, you want it to be extra supportive and understanding. And yeah, not overly complicated, but if you do something, I'm not even going to call it ditzy. Like, it was just, I clicked on a notification the next day. Maybe that's why the Apple Store genii get, I don't know, to that level. Maybe they could fix it. But I wasn't going to go into the Apple Store and go, I wanted to take a medication, which I took, and it was the day before. I just logged it as something else so I could see that my thing was full for the entire time. It's just annoying. It felt like I was fighting with my phone, and I am not bad on the tech. I refuse to believe that I'm bad on the tech. I may be falling behind with some of this AI stuff, but I'm not bad on the tech. All in all, my experience hasn't changed massively with being pregnant with the watch. I do not use the ECG because I think, I could be totally making this up, but I think electrical pulses through your body are not good for the fetus. So I've not been doing that. I have been keeping it on. So it's been reading my heart rate, etc. I've tried to be careful because I don't want to hurt my baby. I haven't really looked for it, but it would be nice if it was very clear. So as soon as I put in that positive pregnancy test again, it went through my health app or did, hey, you're pregnant. Do you want to set up a few things on your phone to make this easier for you? But yeah, I would love to. I would love to see some recommended apps. I would love for some health information about my phone near my baby, because phones have a bit of radiation coming off it as well. All these little bits that assuage me or things that come into my head in the night about it. That would be great. But I mean, it's not specifically for pregnancy, either my phone or my watch. But nothing's changed on my watch. It's just convenient for logging medications when it works. I've been doing that more on my phone. So I've been using my watch less. I've not seen any pregnancy apps that have popped up and been like, hey, you know what? You're pregnant. Thank you for doing the next generation. We really appreciate you taking one for the team and building the next level of customers. Thank you for your investment. None of that. it's just like ticking along day to day. And it would have been nice to have like a little Easter egg, like, hey, well done, pregnant lady. Here's an app just for you. You know, do you want to download it? It's to celebrate how amazing you are and to give you some Kegel exercises and to give you some information that is in a really approachable way. But equally, many people want to have their pregnancy journey differently. So that probably wouldn't work for everybody. But just having that option would be nice. You know, maybe like, I don't know, on New Year's they've got sparks and stuff. Maybe something like that. You've had ovulation test results in. You put a positive pregnancy test in. That means you must be looking for this baby, is, you know, an intentional pregnancy. Maybe have like a little, woo, happy days. I don't know. Just, I like nice things. I like it when the extra thought and care is put into it. And it hasn't impressed me. I will say this is not related to this at all. And it possibly goes to show you that I'm maybe not as compos mentis as I think I am. I was watching this lady with, this is not my scene at all because I don't drink even outside of pregnancy, but she went on a Pampers and Shampers do in London, which again, just she was like traveling for ages to get there. I know she was on mat leave, but I was just like, oh, that's a lot of work, you know. I'd rather go somewhere more local, but then I don't live in London, so maybe my sense of time is skewed. And she said, oh yeah, these mums that I met on Peanut. And I went, what is Peanut? Peanut is Tinder, but for mothers. But do not wave at anybody. I mean, you can wave, but like people have to pay to speak to you on it. If you wave at them to connect. No, that's not true. If you wave at them, like, hello, I'd like to connect with you. And they go, hello, I'd like to connect with you. Then you are friends and you can chat. So that's nice. But you can also just message them directly. If they come up and you're like, I like the look of you. Then you can just send them a message saying, hey, I think that we are in similar stages of life and pregnancy. Would you like to connect? You're close to me. It's a nice app. I used it for a couple of days and then I've stopped using it because I'm very non-committal. But it's somewhere in my brain. It's a nice option. But they don't have one for men. So if you are a developer, can you develop one for men? Because there is a market for it. And if you don't, maybe if I ever pulled my finger out, then I would develop it for men because it's really nice for men who want to be involved in the pregnancy, who are as stand up as my husband. Just support that, you know, don't just have this one for women. But I'm also glad that there is one for women, even though I've kind of blanked everybody on it because I'm so popular. I don't need the friends. It's quite lonely these days because there's a lot of stuff post coronavirus. You don't meet up in person, and that's nice because I've had some awful morning sickness, so like I don't have to go out the house, and that's fantastic non-committal from me. But I mean, I'm moaning enough going into a 2-hour Teams call. I'm like, oh my god, when am I gonna weep? My bladder's been fine thus far. Getting a load of pregnant women on Teams on the same time, yeah, there's a lot of peeing going on, or at least I think there is. People don't have their cameras on. Logic dictates pregnant women pee because the baby presses on the bladder. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's one of those things, like apparently water's breaking dramatically like we see in movies. It doesn't happen to a lot of people, so that's not necessarily the first time you're going into labour. We're going to go through this separately. I will bring my findings to you. Hopefully it'll be useful. They'll probably be rambly, but at least like it's nice, you know, because if you also don't find that many mums around you, hopefully it'll give you a bit of comfort. It'll give me a bit of comfort to keep yapping. Then my jaw hurts a little bit. To conclude, Apple Watch Ultra, 2.5 years in, is still pretty shiny. It hasn't had that many scratches. It's got a few more scratches this year. Still works. It's a little bit meh, which is sad because for something that, say, RRP was about £1,000, not that I paid that because I got a, you know, open box, 300 quid a year and I'm feeling meh about it. That's a bit sad. I just want a bit more excitement. I want to feel more special because I bought an Apple product. But that's not what they're doing. Why don't you make me feel special? The crying is going to come. You'll have to excuse me. I'm fine. It's all fine. Everything's fine. I don't think it's got how often have you cried today as a symptom. I tell you what, I would maybe have appreciated as well. And this goes back to the I'd like to be able to edit it. I'm interested in when some symptoms started. So I was really freaking itchy. Like I had some bumps on my skin. It wasn't really a rash. I think I just irritated my skin. And then because of everything going on in my body, it just went, oh my God, everything's itchy. So I was itchy for probably about 2 weeks. I had to moisturize. I've never done that before in my life, but it did seem to help. Kind of want to know the start and end date of that because I've not written it down anywhere. But maybe if itchiness was a symptom on my watch, I would have looked out for it and then gone, hey, you know what? I'm not itchy today. Thank you, body, for sorting yourself out. That would have been nice to know. And I've not gone through labour, which is a whole new kettle of fish, let alone have a baby. That is a massive life change. I've not done that yet. Even though it's logical to go, maybe I should write these things down so I know what I'm going in for next time. Like losing 7 kilos in the first trimester. That's quite a big commitment. You have to have the 7 kilos to lose. I did. But it's not healthy. You know, it's a massive trauma for your body to go through. It would be nice for me to have recorded them, but I can't anymore. I can't go back in time. I can't remember what happened. I can't remember the days. And some of that is on me. I could have utilised things like my voice diary, which is cool actually. I think that maybe has happened in the last year, where you can add things to journals, and I was using voice memos loads. That was really nice. But like with most things, I've stopped using it. So it was great looking back for the 2 weeks or so that I committed to it. And I've committed to a voice memo, which should have been 5 minutes, but you probably know by now. I will ramble on if I've got something to say. 2.5 years on, conclusion, still working, not blown my mind. Not really anything for pregnancy. Like, it's there, but it's not mind-blowing. I wonder what year 3.5 will be. Oh, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be giving me loud noise notifications. Oh, it's been over 90 decibels. You may want to move away because your hearing could get impacted. I can't move away. That's my baby screaming. Oh, no. See, it needs to know whether you're pregnant. My watch gave me a loud noise notification for wind. I was just cycling. This is pre-pregnancy. I was just cycling down a hill and it went, oh, it's very, very loud. So I said, wind. What do you expect me to do? It's not affecting my ears at all. It's just affecting you. Naively, this is why I'm not massively worried about devices being listened into, because there's just the odd stupid thing where you go, really? And there's so much data. What are they going to sift through? Me humming Apex Predator. That will be so boring. I know they can get AI to, summarize it and stuff, but AI is not 100% on the hit rate. I probably naively don't see it. Doobie-doo, Apex Predator. Bye!